Howdy boys, it's NPC, and today we're going to be going over the top 10 best supercars in GTA Online. Now, the criteria for this video is that it needs to exist in the Supers class, of course, and this list will not be based on only racing. If you're looking for a fast supercars video, I can make that in the future, but this list is mostly going to be focused on the value that you're going to be getting, that being performance, as well as things like customization and overall enjoyment. Be sure to like and sub if you guys are new. I think we can hit 15K by the end of July. We are very, very close. And with that out of the way, let us get started. Coming in at our number 10 spot, we have the brand new overflawed Pipistrello. Now, the Pipistrello is kind of like the Omaggio, which is a car that you guys will be seeing later on this list. It's got good cornering ability. Unfortunately, the top end is a little bit weak, but that's because it's an EV, meaning it's got great acceleration. It's kind of got that ice skating feeling similar to the Virtue when you're driving the car and like making turns and stuff. It seems like the back end likes to kick out a little bit. That being said, it's much more controllable than the Virtue, and the car also has great customization. I think that's a big selling point. A lot of people love cars in GTA. It's literally in the name of the game, a Grand Theft Auto, big focus on cars, and I think when cars have weak customization, we're all really disappointed. So I am really happy that this thing, there's so many cool things you can do with it. And a little downside is that it costs $2,950,000. Kind of steep for, you know, I think you could get cars of better value for cheaper, which is why the Pipistrello is at number 10. That being said, it's a pretty cool car and definitely worth checking out. Now, coming in at our number 9 spot, we have the Vigilante, which is actually classified as a supercar. Now, the Vigilante is our fastest land vehicle in the entire game. That's largely because it has a ginormous rocket booster equipped on the back, and the rocket booster is it's the best rocket booster that we have for land vehicles in the game. It beats the Toreador, it beats the Scramjet by like a long shot. Like, it is the most powerful booster. It's going to move you the furthest, the fastest, and it's going to stay on the longest. That's mostly where its value lies. There's a lot of drawbacks to the Vigilante. It's not raceable in, like, you know, standard super races, which I guess is probably a good thing. It's really, really long and skinny. It's got that like super lanky feel. It just gets caught on a lot of stuff. Like, it feels very stiff, and because it's skinny and it gets caught on a lot of stuff, it tends to roll over a lot, which is not super fun. There's also no way to upgrade the suspension, so traveling off-road is, you know, it's not something you're going to be doing. You're going to be spending a lot more time flying than you are going to be like off-roading, climbing over rocks and stuff like that. So I'd say choosing your pathing is pretty important when it comes to driving the Vigilante. It's got a little bit of a learning curve to it, but I will say, with the, you know, gripes of the rocket booster, it does have a plus side. That being that the Vigilante is very heavy, so you can typically move things out of the way without any issues. It's not going to slow you down all that much, and it is pretty expensive, coming in at $3,750,000, and this one's going to be purchasable on the Warstock website. Everything else is on Legendary Motorsport. This one is the only one that is on Warstock. Oh, last thing I forgot to mention is that it can have missiles, which is super useful. It has a lot of value when it comes to doing like heist setup missions, especially because you can get from point A to point B really fast. A lot of the time it's traveling across the map, and when you have to take down the enemies at whatever location you arrive at, it's great to have the homing missiles. Now, next up on our list, we have the S80RR. It's a race car, and it is competitive with some of the high-end cars in the game, like the LM87, the Krieger, the Emirates. It is definitely toe-to-toe with them. And for some reason, people have said that the S80 is like not as good, but for my racing experience, and I do quite a bit of racing, I love racing, it's fast. It is like faster in a straight line than the LM87 before the speed glitch. Of course, the LM87 with the speed glitch is something else to talk about, which we'll get to later. A little bit of spoilers there, but the S80, other than that, like, it's like a solid race car. Like, if you pick the S80, it's not a throw. It's got a great top speed, it's got insane cornering abilities, a decent acceleration as well, and it's a very solid car. It's a little sad that it's at number 8, but we just have so many good cars on this list. Something that is of good value to the S80, though, is its price, coming in at $2,575,000. It's a little bit on the cheaper end compared to other cars on this list, even though it's still $2.5 million, but it is on the lower end. Now, at our number 7 spot is the Trojan Emirates, and some of you guys might be like, bro, you're fucking tripping. I know, like I just said, I have a lot of race experience, but hear me out, okay? The Emirates is an insane racing vehicle. It's one of the best cars in the game without HSW. That's largely due to its super good top speed and its insane cornering ability. Like, it barely loses speed in the corners. It's ridiculous. Now, here are the downsides. It doesn't have great acceleration. It takes quite a long time for it to reach its top speed, especially compared to something like the Krieger, who has, you know, some of its own pluses, but we'll get to that in a little bit. The Emirates takes a long time to creep up to the Krieger. Once it passes the Krieger, and if it's in good hands, the Emirates is going to take you a long way. It is a super fast vehicle. That being said, it does spin out easier compared to other supercars. It's just like a little bit fragile handling. It's not like super unforgiving, but if you don't take your line well, it's gonna punish you. And if you spin out, good luck catching the Krieger, because that thing, it's like, it bolts off the line. We'll talk about that later. The last thing I have to say about the Emirates is that it's lower on this list because it's kind of ugly. Like it's just the McLaren Senna got done dirty by Rockstar. Unfortunately, not saying you can't make the Emirates look good, but the number of times I've seen an Emirates look good is, like, I can count it on one hand. And despite it having a lot of customization, not all of that is great. It's like hard to work with. It's got like massively large pieces, I guess because it's built to be a race car, but still, it would be nice if it could be a little more versatile. And the Emirates, you can buy it on the Legendary Motorsport website for $2,750,000. Now, coming in at our number 6 spot is the Osla XA21, and some of you guys might be like, why is this car in front of the Emirates of all vehicles? Remember, the criteria for this video is value provided, enjoyment, customization, stuff like that. And I'm going to start this off by saying I am an XA21 glazer. Okay, I love the XA21 for a lot of reasons I'm about to share with you guys. Despite it being probably the slowest car on this list for racing, it does not mean that it is slow by any means. It's got a decent top end. It's got really, really good handling. It's one of the smoothest feeling cars you will ever drive, and it provides you immense satisfaction. Like, I promise you guys, you're not gonna regret buying the car. It feels so good to drive. It feels really balanced in its weight and movement. Like, it doesn't lurch forward from being too heavy. Like the Paragon S, the brand new one. That one kind of has like a barreling kind of feeling, like a boulder down a hill. Like, it just won't stop. And it doesn't feel so light that you're going to lose control. On top of that, it is the best sounding car in the game. Of course, you know, sharing a sound with like the Sterling GT, but it is the best sound for a car in the game. The active spoiler is really cool. That can kind of be a plus and a minus, because if that gets crushed, you lose some traction. But you're not going to be doing a lot of crashing in the XA21 because the handling is just so good. I think it makes for one of the best free mode daily drivers in the game, and I think it's a pretty popular opinion. Like, this car slept on in terms of its popularity, but nobody that has bought the XA21 has had anything bad to say about it. It doesn't have a ton of customization, but it is very sleek looking, and it's just like minimal and clean and has like a lot of good value. It's just like 10 out of 10 personality car. You guys should definitely give it a try. And if you guys are looking to buy one, unfortunately, the XA21 was removed from the game, which blows. So you will have to wait for it to come on sale, in which it will cost $2,375,000. But be on the lookout, because I'm serious, you're going to enjoy driving that car. Now we are at the middle of our list. We have the Torero XO at our number 5 spot. It is one of the fastest land vehicles in the game without a booster. It's got insane acceleration, it's got a fantastic top end, and it looks phenomenal. And I think those things are what put it at number 5. It's kind of got weird customization. Like, not all of the pieces fit together with the forged and the carbon. Despite that, it's a great representation of the new Countach. It looks fantastic. You can still make the car look good, and it's of course it's super good for like straight line drag races, like at the airport. It's hard to beat this car, but of course we have to talk about some of its drawbacks, and that is largely due to the handling. It weighs as much as a feather, and it doesn't have terrible brakes, so those things together make it really hard to stop the vehicle or turn or go any direction other than straight. Like, the turns are gonna end you when you're trying to learn to drive this car. It's pretty frustrating at the start. It does have a pretty steep learning curve because you need to brake so early when you're driving the Torero. But once you get a hang of it, it's pretty fun. It's really fast, and it's good in the right hands. great for like stunt races, stuff where you're just going to be going straight a lot of the time. And it's kind of just similar to the Emirates, where it's got like a little bit of fragility, but you can make it work. If you're looking to buy one, it's going to be on the two-door section of Legendary for $2,890,000. Now at our number 4 spot, we have the Ocelot Virtue. And I think this one shouldn't really come as a surprise because it is free from the DAX missions from the Freak Shop. Once you complete those, you can get a free Ocelot Virtue, which is amazing. It makes it great for new players. And if you want to buy after that, it's going to be $2,980,000. Pretty steep, but you still get a lot of value from the car. It's got insane acceleration, probably the fastest in the entire game, faster than the Torero XO, which is ridiculous because the Torero makes other cars look like trash. On top of that, it also has Imani tech, which is crazy, making it super durable. And it's got decent customization. It's a pretty good looking car by default. Now, the drawbacks are that it's like super ice skatey. Like, your car basically has no traction on the ground. Like, you can still move it in other directions, but it's just because the acceleration is like pulling it forward as opposed to you like making a turn. It just kind of like breaks physics a little bit. And that might lead to a lot of crashing, but at least it has Imani tech, so it's got the durability. So if you crash a lot, like, don't worry. And the other drawback is that it's got a low top speed because it is an electric vehicle. It is mostly like great for free mode, because in free mode you're going to be doing a lot of like, you know, city driving, a lot of accelerating and decelerating, and that's where the car excels. We are now entering our top 3, starting off with the Pegassi Ignis. And I used to sleep on the Ignis, but I appreciate it now because I've driven it more. I've given it some more time. I have to say that I am pleasantly surprised because it's similar to the XA21, and that is high praise coming from me. I love the XA21 so much, and it's got like a great balanced feel, and it's very versatile. It's got a great top speed. It's not quite the fastest, but it's competitive. Like, if you picked an Ignis in a race, it can probably hold its own. Like, assuming the LM87 is banned on PC, because that's like a whole nother story. But it's up there. It can compete with the S80, the Emirates, the Krieger, and it just keeps a lot of its speed because the handling is so good. It's easy to drive. It's just like very balanced across the board, you know? Like, it's not the fastest, but it's fast. And it's not the best handling, but it's got great handling. And on top of that, it is a great looking car. It has a lot of detail. It's kind of got that like realism touch that Rockstar's been throwing on new cars. And it's very close to its real life counterpart. On top of that, the customization is fantastic. It's got good looking pieces that support the car, and they're like good looking options as well. None of this, oh, forge this, carbon that, and we don't have them to complement each other. It's got good customization, and there's just nothing to complain about. Like this and the XA21, this is kind of just like a faster XA21. It doesn't sound as good, but it is faster. And there's just no complaints. Like, I don't have anything bad to say. So that's why the Ignis is at number 3. And if you guys are looking to pick one up, you can find it under the two-door section of Legendary Motorsport for $2,765,000. Now, at our number 2 spot, we have the Benefactor LM87, which is a monster of a vehicle. It is the best race car on PC. And the reason why I say on PC, which usually people throw in the same tier as the old gen, like the Xbox 360 and the PS4. The thing is, on PC, we've kind of got some special glitches of our own, like speed glitches, where the LM87's speed is correlated with the amount of frames per second that you get. The FPS that you get, the higher it is, the faster your car is going to go. So, like, closing Chrome tabs will make a difference in your car's speed, and it is a monster. Like, it's got HSW levels of top speed, and without that speed glitch, it's still fast, but I'd probably throw it more towards like the SADRR's placement, which is number 8 on this list, because it's good, but it's not like as great for city driving. Race car, like just getting across the map, this thing is ridiculous. On top of that, it's got insane cornering ability, rivaling that of the Emirates, where it just like glues on the corner. Like it just goes. It just does not lose any speed. It's kind of insane. The reason why I put the fast cars like the SADRR and the LM87 so low is because in free mode, they're not as useful. They kind of have poor acceleration. There's like a good amount of wheel spin off the line, and there's a lot of stuff that gets in your way, and these cars spin out easily if you go over bumps, if you like hit a car. It's just really inconvenient, and I think there are better options for that, like the XA21, that just feel a lot better to drive in free mode. I think a lot of that on PC gets overwritten because of the speed glitch, but it's still a great car nonetheless. And if you guys are looking to buy one, you can buy it for $2,915,000 on Legendary Motorsport. Kind of a steep price, but I think it's worth it. Now, before we get to our number 1 spot, I actually have 2 honorable mentions for you guys. The first one being the Zentorno, because the Zentorno is super cheap. It is the only vehicle on this list under $1 million, under $2 million even. It's $725,000 on the Legendary Motorsport website, and while it's kind of gotten power crept over the years, it can still hold its own against the fastest cars in the game. Like, it's not that far off the pace. On top of that, top speed's a little bit slower. It does actually have pretty good handling though, and it also has great customization. It's got recently added customization. Recently is in like the last year or 2, it kind of got some more customization, which is nice because it was or is a fan favorite supercar, and it's just got great bang for your buck for players who are starting out. Now, our other honorable mention is actually the Grotti Turismo Omaggio, and some of you guys might be like, bro, what are you on? But let me explain. I know the Omaggio is one of the fastest cars around a circuit in the entire game. It is like ridiculous. In the corners, it doesn't lose speed at all, and despite its weak top end, that's where like its strength lies. Like around a circuit track, this car is ridiculous. But let's talk about the drawbacks, because the Omaggio has more than you guys might think. It is annoyingly easy to get it off its wheels. I recently had the pleasure of driving this in a 15 versus 1 manhunt against Torero Exos, and it's just like so easy to get off its wheels. It's nice that it has a nice handling, but like other cars also have nice handling, and this one, it's just like a little bit too skinny for its size. It's kind of got a tallish cabin, and so it just kind of throws itself. Like it's like more top heavy, and it's not as glued to the ground as you might think, even though it's super fast around the corners. I know it kind of like doesn't seem like it makes sense, but if you drive the car long enough, it's very easy to kind of get it onto 2 wheels and to tip, and it's just got a feeling of like it's tripping over its own weight, similar to the Torero, even though it's not supposed to be light like the Torero. Super weird. And I know that's only really one drawback, but it's a pretty big drawback. Like if you can't keep your car on the ground, and I don't know if it's a skill issue or what, because I like racing cars in GTA. Like, I don't think I'm bad at controlling the vehicles. I think if a car is easy to use, it's a good feature. And I just think the Omaggio, it is easy to use, but like in those situations, it just kind of makes you feel like, what the f is happening? It does have a Monty Tech though. That's really nice. And if you want to buy one, it's $2,845,000. Now, for our number 1 spot, this should come as no surprise. It is the Benefactor Krieger, and this one has kind of always been in the talks for number 1 with the LM87 and the Emirates and maybe the Torero. And I'm just going to go ahead and say that the Krieger is number 1, not necessarily just for racing purposes, but because it is the best all-rounder. It's got crazy good acceleration. It's got a great top speed as well. I know it's not as high as like the Emirates, but it just bolts off the line. It is ridiculously fast off the line. And I know the Torero's got it beat a little bit, but you can't control the Torero nearly as easily as you can control the Krieger. It's got great cornering ability as well, and it is just the like fastest, most balanced car that I think is on this list. It just feels really nice to drive, and it feels agile. It gives you a really rewarding feeling when you drive the Krieger well, and when you get punished, it's not that bad of a punishment, because I know a lot of cars can give you good rewards when you drive them well, but I think the punishment is very light and the rewards are bountiful. So I think it's just like a pretty easy Krieger. It was kind of a no-brainer for me. Its customization isn't like the greatest, and I think you need some time to appreciate the looks, because it's not as nice as the Mercedes AMG 1 in real life, but it's not a bad looking car. I think you can make it look good for sure. And if you guys are looking to buy one, it is $2,875,000 on Legendary Motorsports. Comment Krieger gang if you guys made it this far into the video. I want to see your guys' thoughts and opinions as well. Please share them in the comments below, and like and sub while you're down there. But that's all for this one. Peace.